Dallas has just been on a tear. I believe we can attribute that to Jason Robertson. Also, Jake Ottinger, who's really stepped in.
Yeah, so we can compare a rookie QB to a toddler. Hayward's absence for this game will be significant, and I wouldn't be surprised if this game turns into a blowout as of late.
The Golden Knights just can't pull it. I really think the Avalanche are determined this year.
They made so many moves and grabbed so many guys that they have to win a championship or at least make the finals. They were on our championship and bust.
The same self, the only year he won an MVP was the year he cheated, which really should put something against that MVP. But
Yeah, and as a Cowboys fan, I have learned how dangerously good Aaron Rodgers has been with he can just thread a pass.
Hello, I am Ruby Ackerman, and you are listening to Outsider's Opinion with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NBA opinions of the week. And, I would say I'm not going to compare the Mavs struggles to the Wizards struggles, but not great times right now in the Outsiders Opinions basketball team fandom, Austin.
Yeah, you're right. The Mavs are 3-8 ever since Luka's been out with injury. It looks like he's not going to be back until sometime in February. And the question is, can they stay afloat? Can they stay in solid playoff contention and in a good spot to where they don't have to play one of the harder routes in the playoffs? Right now, the Mavs are 22-19. Minnesota's right behind them at 21-19, and it's 21-20 Kings, 20-20 Suns, 20-20 Warriors. 19-20 Spurs. So there's a lot of teams right there that if they lose 4 of their next 6 games or something like that, they could definitely fall all the way to 12 really quickly.
Yeah, it's not the best. And I would say people have talked about like Luka's dealt with injuries, but this to me is probably the biggest Luka injury to deal with. And people are going to bring up conditioning, but I don't view it as conditioning. I view it as just the usage of like what he does with basketball. Because if you look at, I really wish I could know what injury he was dealing with in the finals, because every time he fell or something, his knee would just start bleeding. And I would love to have seen a picture. I wouldn't have loved the look of it. I just wanted to know like what exactly is wrong with his knee. As it was bleeding, I'm like, is there a cut or something? And I do think it was affecting his defense, but it's his calf, and I think you have to take as much time, and it's going to be a while. Because talking about the calf, that leads to the Achilles, as we saw that with Kevin Durant. So I think they need to be really careful, and I do think they can stay afloat without Luka. Their ceiling, of course, is lower, much lower, because he is a top 5 player in the league. However, the thing that has been hurting this Mavs team, as you mentioned, the 3-8 stretch. Kyrie, of course, is back now, but it was the Kyrie injury. And then there's also PJ being out. You had Najee Marshall suspended. Same thing with PJ. It's the other guys around them where they have to go really down deep into their bench, where I do think they have good players. Like there are good players with Dinwiddie and Hardy, but to me, it's the other injuries to key players where I think PJ Washington is a huge piece for this team. You also mentioned Derek Lively. So I think they can stay afloat without Luka. The problem is they can't really handle other injuries, including the Luka absence.
Yeah, and this season the Mavs are 3-7 without Kyrie, while they're 3-8 without Luka. And yeah, the injuries just piled up on each other. And also Kyrie, in his most recent games that he has played, he's lost as well because he's just not played all that well. In his last 2 games that he's played, one against Houston, he had 16 points. In this past game against Denver, he only had 11. So I don't know if that's Kyrie playing through injury or rusty or whatever, but they do need the better version of him to end up getting out of this slump.
Yeah, I do think he's playing a little bit through injury. I don't think it's the coaches doing it. I think Kyrie's doing it because he really loves Dallas, but he's someone that has dealt with injury. So, and the key thing, like, of course, Luka is a fantastic player. It's the ball handling, because Dante Exum, who's expected to be a ball handler, is also out. He's been out for the entirety of the season. That's to me where this Mavs team struggle is. Kyrie and Luka are the primary facilitator. They did add Dinwiddie, and I would say I'm trying to think of facilitator. After Dinwiddie, if you're going Kyrie and Luca out, it's Dinwiddie, and then I would say Najee Marshall, because he's a passer. But I do think they have scoring to help in the scoring loss of Luca and Kyrie. But to me, it's really that ball handling aspect of Kyrie, who's not doing well and trying to score a ton, that they don't have when Luca's out.
Yeah. When is Exum supposed to return? Do you know?
I don't know. I think he's still got a few months. I think he's starting to shoot now. Um duh, duh, duh. So apparently it was expected to be January 17th. Um
The day that we are recording.
yeah. But he underwent surgery October 9th, which they said expected to miss around 3 months. So maybe he's coming up soon. Um I have not heard anything new about it. He hasn't been cleared for contact yet, from 5 days ago. So I do think it's going to be a little bit. He might come closer when Luca's coming back. So I don't really expect anything huge from him. And then he's got to ramp his way back up. So I would say for the Mavs, it's the ball handling, not the scoring. Um, because like Derek Lively was also starting to pass more. Um, because I think this is a great roster. It's just they're just so decimated by injuries that now you're like, okay, we didn't really expect Spencer Dinwiddie to be a starting guard for us, just a guy off the bench and even a limited guy off the bench. So we'll have to see. But I do think they can stay afloat. And by afloat, I mean 8, 7 seed. And then when Luca comes back, they can gun for it. And it's going to be a battle no matter what in the West. But I would just worry about getting Luca healthy for the playoffs.
Okay. Then I have another question for you. Are the Mavs going to be a play-in team this year, or do you think they can make it to the 6th seed and avoid that? Right
I
now, the
think they,
6th seed
yeah.
is 21-17 to the Lakers, while the Mavs are 22-19. Obviously, these other teams are going to be close to getting the 6th seed, but do you think the Mavs are a play-in team?
I don't think they're a playing team. I think they will cut it close, but I do think they get the 6 seed.
Okay. I disagree. It's just because I think it's going to take time for Luka to ramp up. I agree with you that this is the biggest Luka injury, and it's going to take him time to get back to what he was beforehand. And I think during those times of uh, trying to get back, he will struggle some, and that definitely is not something you want to hear, but it's something that's inevitable. Uh, I do think that the Mavs get the 6th seed; they still can salvage this season, but having to do play-in extra games are just going to kill this team. And I do think that we're starting to get to the point to look to next year. Not yet; they still have time, but it's definitely a hard season so far because of all the injuries they've had, and we'll have to see if they can overcome it, or if they'll be doomed to have to play those extra games and end up playing either OKC or another really good team in the first round.
Yeah, and talking about that one game in the play-in, they also had games last season where they just didn't do well. They just didn't start hot. There was, of course, game one against the Clippers. I want to say was it game 3 or 4 with the Thunder where they just got blown out. Um, of course, the Celtics, but the Celtics were insane. They didn't really have that with Minnesota, or maybe maybe game 4, Minnesota, where I would be nervous just because it's one game and you got to play well in that one game. A series is different. So yeah, I understand. I wouldn't be shocked, but I do think they just get that edge of getting in the 6. We'll have to see though. So we'll keep you updated through that. And we appreciate you listening to Outsiders Opinions. Make sure you're following us, hit that bell, subscribe, and stay on the lookout for notifications of when we post an episode. Thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.